Hi, welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. We are on Edwin Cuxeva Part 2. The cases I cover are wild. Topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. Let's dive back in. On July 6, 2021, Ruth met with Citrus Heights Police Department Detective Crystal Battaglia and my personal hero, daughter of a former state investigator. She made detective in January 2020 at the age of 29. Battaglia firsthand saw the influx of the pandemic-caused child sexual abuse cases. A case she took personally was one of her first cases of a preemie like Battaglia's own child. And unfortunately, I can say mine, the thing with the NICU Mom Club is that we don't want other people joining. Nonetheless, when the people who are supposed to protect their own children are the ones hurting them. This preemie, however, was paraplegic and unable to speak and say the horrible things their guardian was doing to them. And since becoming a mom and taking a look back at the things my own guardians did to me, changed my perspective, and from having empathy to absolutely no fucking empathy for those who were supposed to have my best interest. I was always told, oh, you'll get it once you're a mom. You're going to appreciate everything your parents did to you when you have kids. And well, guess what? I am a geriatric elder millennial. I have a daughter, and I have absolutely no mercy for neglectful parents. That being said, I'm lucky because my preemie is now 5 years old. Battaglia's preemie was born sleeping, and it drove her passion to land real-life monsters who hurt babies in prison even stronger. Battaglia's almost 20 inches of printed paper presented a picture of how Ruth's light was dimmed in comparisons of last year's public school pictures versus when she started being homeschooled. Pictures of her in long skirts show a glimpse of what her cult and Edwin controlled. Ruth called Edwin using a police cell phone that recorded their conversations and text messages and tried to get him to admit what he did to her for several hours. By 8 p.m., Detective Battaglia told Ruth to dust herself off and try again. Edwin did a great job in covering his tracks like career master manipulators narcissists are known to do. He scared Ruth so much that it took her 15 years to tell authorities. Most victims do not make it that far. He took Ruth to various abortion clinics, multiple Planned Parenthoods in California, where he made her call to make the appointments at phone booths using various fake names. And for those who don't know what a phone booth is, great question, I would love to tell you. It's a tiny structure furnished with a payphone. Back in my day, before a world of cell phones, you could call people using a landline that connected the world through wires. Public payphones used to be everywhere. You could put in a quarter or call someone. In this case, abortion clinics. They would drive from Sacramento to Los Angeles, about 400 miles, and sometimes he would accompany her to the medical offices and pretended to be her uncle. After a 14-minute call was all it took for the smart women to nail him. On July 21st, 2021, Detective Battaglia and Detective Seth Dexter drove to Edwin's job as a technician for the Bureau of Automotive Repair and arrested Edwin Cuxeva. He did not ask why he was being arrested. Like most grown children of abusive parents, one of his daughters actively set a no-contact boundary. And like most people who hurt the ones closest to them, he was a lonely man in a diminished existence. He had major debt. He had no problem telling detectives about the time he moved his second family from the Bay Area to Citrus Heights, becoming more involved in his divine cult. and making his stepdaughter stop wearing jeans. And yes, I said a divine cult. In the Spanish SDA church I grew up in, the church service is called culto divino. And yes, I said Seventh-day Adventist church. It fits all, and I said the Seventh-day Adventist church is a cult because it fits all the categories of a cult. No, I won't be going into why it is a cult today, but I plan on releasing an episode on that subject on another occasion. Edwin very casually, very straightforwardly told detectives he started sexually assaulting Ruth when she was just 12 years old. He did not know exactly how many abortions he made her have. There were too many. On June of 2022, this real-life cucuy, Edwin Cuxeva, pleaded guilty to 11 counts of lewd and lascivious acts with a child, 6 days after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and 9 states reinstated their aggressive abortion bans. Edwin got a plea deal. On Friday, on July 29th of 2022, the Sacramento County District Attorney Deputy Kirina Orozco texted Ruth to be ready to appear via a remotely for 52-year-old Edwin Cuxeva's sentencing hearing. Ruth was able to face her abuser where he belonged, in a cage in court. Ruth read her prepared statement, and I quote, "Your Honor, I have been living with this tumor entrapped in child sexual assault, rape, and abuse for more than my life than not. Because of Mr. Cuxeva, I endured 6 abortions. I firmly believe that if I wouldn't have had access to an abortion, he would have done something he could to make those pregnancies, to make sure those pregnancies were terminated, including making it look like I committed suicide. I have traveled to the furthest depths of being to rid myself of the tumor that is Cuxeva, and I am cancer-free," unquote. Ruth mentions in her NPR podcast episode that various times during the 6 times that he got her pregnant in the span of 7 years, he would casually mention things like, "Oh, you should fall down the stairs so we don't have to make a trip to the clinic." Sadly, like many cases of abusers, Ruth was not the only victim, especially statistically and in the family. Ruth's mom, brother, and sister told the Sacramento court about their experience of sexual abuse at the hands of Edwin Cuxeva. Judge Brody addressed Edwin and I quote, "a monster who killed the innocence of young children from a position of trust, using religion to do so," unquote. Judge Brody sentenced Edwin Cuxeva to the maximum of 28 years in prison. Deputy District Attorney Kirina Orozco called Ruth and left her a voicemail telling her that she was a storm that helps others speak for themselves. According to statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, along with the Annie E. Casey Foundation in the U.S., more than 11 million children experience sexual abuse per year. Most survivors do not report their experience with authorities. Ruth is quoted saying, "They're the only thing you know. They know your deepest, darkest secrets. You feel so ashamed, and you can't share that with anyone else. And they make sure that they're the only person you keep sharing it with.